All right. Now here's another one. So when I retired from the Navy and got out and started the consulting business, working, and one of my risk-averse friends that was staying in the military for its welfare program, right? It's a paycheck, right? And the guy wasn't, he wasn't all fired up anymore, but he was in, and so he had a mortgage to pay and kids to feed, so he's just staying in. And he kind of looked at me when I was getting out, and I said, well, yeah, man, I got bills to pay too, but I'm going to go and get after it somehow. And he said, what are you going to do if the business doesn't work and you end up, you're going to come back in, and what are you going to do? You won't be able to get back in, blah, 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 blah. And I said, bro, worst case scenario, everything goes to hell. Guess what I'm going to be doing? I have an RV. I will be in my RV with my family. We'll be driving up and down the coast of California, raiding jiu-jitsu schools and training, and I'll be surfing. And it's all good. And it won't cost me barely anything to do that. My retirement will cover. It'll be good to go. You got a backup plan like that? Well, let me rephrase that. If you needed a backup plan like that, what would it be?
This is one of my favorite topics. So I would say that I have an infinite number of backup plans. And the way I think about that is by doing what I call fear setting. So much like you just said, looking at my goals, the worst things that could happen, the ways I could mitigate that, and the way I could get back to where I am now if all hell struck at once, helps me to remove the fear of taking these steps that might paralyze me otherwise. The second part is by, say, practicing fasting, practicing spending no money for certain periods of time. I don't fear, I would say, the top handful of things that tend to stop people from taking what they perceive as risks. The other very important thing is that risk has a very specific meaning for me. And I realized early on that people talk about risk tolerance, taking risks, but if they don't define it clearly, it can end up being paralyzing in how nebulous it is. So for me, risk is very simple. It is the likelihood of an irreversible negative outcome. That's it. So most things I do, even though people look at it, they say, oh my God, this guy's investing in speculative startups when it's just one guy and an idea. Man, he's a risk taker. I don't view myself that way at all. I view myself as, if anything, someone who's has taken a lot of time to get good at mitigating risk. I'm a risk mitigator. And in the case of, say, speculative investing, I am only using money that I can comfortably afford to lose. Mm-hmm. And for me, backup plan, similar to yourself. Throw my dog in an RV, get some instant oatmeal, sleeping bag. Yosemite's right in my backyard. I don't know, go find some dirtbag climbers and hang out there.
Good to go.
Yeah, go hang out with my parents, get to see more of them, go for a run in the woods. Yeah. While I'm trying to figure out the next step.
And you had that attitude when you were taking more legitimate risk. I mean, right now, obviously, you're pretty good to go. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, when you moved out to the West Coast, you had to have the similar attitude of, because I know I did that attitude for me freed me. Yep. Like, oh, worst case scenario, I lose everything. Cool. I'll still have my RV. It's paid for.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, totally. I had that attitude.
Got more surfboards than any other human should ever have. But it's all.
And not knives and surfboards.
We roll deep.
I think I had that realization early on. And of course, when I first graduated from school, went out to the West Coast, I did not have a lot of money. I remember when I came out to California for the first time for a job interview, I couldn't afford a hotel. I stayed at the Fairtex kickboxing gym on the second floor, sleeping on a bunk bed with a Thai instructor sleeping above me, and washed my clothes in the sink.
Good to go.
And I was happy. I was fully content. I didn't feel like I was missing anything. And but let's not kid ourselves. I mean, when I first moved out, it was 1999. This is at the peak of the bubble. Rental prices are out of control. And I was making $40,000 a year pre-tax. And
get some.
Yeah. And my office, my desk was in the fire exit. I mean, it was completely illegal. I had to I had a pretty slick setup, but it was very low budget. And But really what I think freed me on some level is realizing, and this, hopefully this doesn't sound prickish or arrogant or whatever, but no matter what difficulties might befall me, whatever unemployment might come my way, there are people with fewer resources, with less education, who have figured it out before and survived.
Yeah.
So if dozens or hundreds or thousands of millions of people have figured this out, I'm going to come out the other end and be fine.
Yeah,
so that was very reassuring to me.
Yeah, that is a good one. And